are not being punished. You are being continued. You did something years ago you still wish you hadn't. Maybe it was a word you said to someone who didn't deserve it. Maybe it was a choice you made when you knew better. Maybe it was smaller than that. Something no one else remembers, but you do. You remember it at 2 a.m. You remember it in the shower. And somewhere underneath the remembering, there is a quiet waiting, as though the universe is keeping a tab, as though sooner or later the bill comes due. 2,500 years ago, in a forest in northern India, a man worked out exactly what does and doesn't happen next. What he taught is not what most of us think it is. It is stranger, and I think more liberating. Karma may be the most misused word in the English language. It came to America as a Sanskrit loanword and arrived without its luggage. Most of what we say about it now, the Buddha would have rejected. Some of what we say about it, he explicitly did reject. He named the wrong views. He called them dangerous. And then he offered something else entirely. This video has 3 layers. The first will clear away what karma is not, and that alone may surprise you. The second will show you what the Buddha actually meant, and it is not punishment. The third will take you to what I think is the most liberating idea in the entire Pali Canon, that the only place karma operates is the place you are sitting right now. Let's start with the clearing. Chapter 1. What karma is not. The 4 misreadings. There are 4 versions of karma that circulate in the English-speaking world. All 4 feel true. All 4 are wrong. Not wrong as in slightly off, but wrong as in the Buddha spent entire discourses attacking them. Let me name them quickly, because you will recognize every one. The first is cosmic justice. What goes around comes around. You do something bad happens to you. You do something good, the universe rewards you. It is tidy. It is satisfying. It is the moral physics of a Hollywood screenplay. And it is not what the Buddha taught. He explicitly refused to say that present experience maps onto past actions in any simple, proportional way. We will see the sutta where he says this in a few minutes. The second is New Age magnetism. You attract what you vibrate. Your thoughts create your reality. If bad things happen to you, examine what energy you are putting out. This version borrows the word karma and strips it of everything the Buddha meant by it. It turns suffering into a personal failure of attitude. The Buddha would not have recognized it. The third is fatalism. It was meant to be. It's my karma. There is nothing I can do. This was written before I was born. This version is the most dangerous of the 4, and it is the one the Buddha attacked most directly. We are about to see why. The 4th is the punishment system. The universe is keeping score. You deserve what you get. Suffering is evidence of past wrongdoing. Comfort is evidence of past virtue. This version turns karma into a cosmic courtroom, and the Buddha dismantled that courtroom brick by brick. 4 versions: cosmic justice, magnetism, fatalism, punishment. If you have ever used the word karma in English, chances are you meant one of these. None of them is what the Buddha taught, and the distance between what he taught and what we think he taught, that distance is where this video lives. The Buddha's explicit rejection, in a discourse recorded as AN 3.61 in the Pali Canon. The Titayatana Sutta, the discourse on the 3 sectarian doctrines, the Buddha names 3 positions he considers wrong. Not incomplete, not early stage, wrong, and dangerous. The first is called pubbekatahetu. It means whatever a person experiences, pleasant, painful, or neutral, all of it is caused by what was done in the past. Every bit of your present experience is the fruit of previous action. Nothing you do now changes the equation. You are living out a sentence that was written before you arrived. This is what most English speakers mean when they say, "It's my karma." And the Buddha rejected it. AN 3.61. Not gently, not with a qualifier. He said, and I am paraphrasing the Pali here, that when a person falls back on what was done in the past as being essential, there is no desire, no effort at the thought, this should be done, this shouldn't be done. When one cannot pin down what should and shouldn't be done, one dwells bewildered and unprotected. That person, the Buddha said, cannot legitimately claim to be a contemplative. Read that again slowly. The Buddha is saying, if you believe your present experience is entirely determined by past actions, you lose the motivation to act. You lose the ability to distinguish what should be done from what shouldn't. You become, in his word, bewildered, unprotected. The belief itself is the harm. The second wrong view is Ṭhānissaro, divine determinism. Whatever you experience is the will of a creator God. The third is ahetu apakaya, randomness. Things just happen, no cause at all. The Buddha rejects all three for the same reason. They destroy the basis for ethical effort. If everything is already determined by past action by God or by chance, then there is no point intending anything. And intention, as we are about to see, is everything. But stay with the first one for a moment. Pubbekatahetu. The view that your present suffering is caused entirely by your past kamma. This is not a minor misunderstanding the Buddha corrected in passing. He identified it as one of three fundamental errors that undermine the entire spiritual life. And it is the version of karma that most of the English-speaking world carries around in its pocket. The popular claim, "It's my karma," is precisely the pubbekatahetu view the Buddha called wrong and dangerous and disqualifying, the Jain mirror. If you want to see the Buddha at his most pointed on this subject, there is a discourse in the Majjhima Nikaya, MN 101, the Devadaha Sutta, where he addresses the Jain position directly. The Jains of his time, the Niganthas, held a view that will sound familiar. They taught that all present experience is the result of past kamma, and that the way to liberation is to burn off that past kamma through austerity. Endure enough pain, exhaust the old debt, and eventually you are free. Suffering is repayment. The Buddha attacked this, MN 101. Not the Jains personally, their sincerity was never in question, but the logic of the position. His counter-argument, stripped to its core, is this. Present experience is not caused solely by past kamma. It is shaped by past kamma, yes, but also by present kamma, by present effort, by present cultivation. The present is not a courtroom where you sit and receive a verdict. The present is a workshop where you are still building. This matters because the Jain position, past kamma determines present experience, and liberation means burning off the dead, is a fairly accurate description of what most people today call karma. The popular version is essentially the position the Buddha spent an entire discourse dismantling. He did not offer a softer version of the same idea. He offered a different idea altogether, and the difference is not academic. The Jain model says, endure. The Buddha's model says, intend. The Jain model locates freedom at the end of a long repayment. The Buddha locates freedom at the beginning of a single present moment. So if karma is not cosmic justice, if it is not magnetism, not fatalism, not punishment, not a debt to be burned off, then what is it? The Buddha gave a definition, one sentence, and that sentence changes everything. Chapter 2. Cetanā is kamma. the gateway, before we get to that one sentence, let me give you the frame it sits inside. The very first verses of the Dhammapada, the most widely read collection in the Pali Canon, open with this. In the translation by the American Theravada monk Ṭhānissaro Bhikkhu, DHP 1-2, phenomena are preceded by the heart, ruled by the heart, made of the heart. If you speak or act with a corrupted heart, then suffering follows you, as the wheel of the cart, the track of the ox that pulls it. If you speak or act with a calm, bright heart, then happiness follows you, like a shadow that never leaves, preceded by the heart, ruled by the heart, made of the heart, not preceded by the universe, not ruled by a cosmic ledger, not made of past lives. The heart, your heart right now, in the moment of acting, is upstream of everything. You may have heard a version of this rendered as what you think you become. The Buddha never said that. That line is a modern composite, traceable to Joseph Murphy's self-help books in the 1960s, compressed for greeting cards, and attributed to the Buddha somewhere along the way. It is one of the most widely shared fake Buddha quotes on the internet. What the Buddha actually said, through the Pali, is more precise and more interesting. He did not say, "You become what you think." He said what you experience follows from the quality of your heart at the moment you speak or act. The direction is specific, the mechanism is specific, and the implication is specific. Change the quality of the heart, and what follows changes. That is the frame. Now the definition, the redefinition. In the Nibbedika Sutta, AN 6.63, the Buddha offers what may be the single most important sentence in his entire teaching on kamma. One sentence, no ambiguity. Intention, I tell you, is kamma. Intending, one does kamma by way of body, speech, and intellect. That is Ṭhānissaro Bhikkhu's rendering. Bhikkhu Bodhi, the leading Pali Canon scholar, translates the same Pali slightly differently. It is volition, bhikkhus, that I call kamma. For having willed, one acts by body, speech, or mind. Same Pali word, Cetanā. Ṭhānissaro renders it intention. Bodhi renders it volition. This video uses intention because for a general audience it lands closer to lived experience. But the technical term is Cetanā, and it is worth remembering because it is doing all the work. Intention, I tell you, is kamma, not the action, not the result, not what happens to you afterward. The intention, the quality of mind at the moment you choose to act. That is kamma. That is all kamma is. Sit with this for a moment, because it is a genuine redefinition. When most people say karma, they mean what happens to you as a consequence of what you did. The universe punishes, the universe rewards. The Buddha says, no. Kamma is not the consequence. Karma is the intending. The consequence is called vipaka, fruit. It is a separate thing. Karma itself lives at the moment of intention, not at the moment of result. This is not a philosophical nicety. It changes everything about where you look. A surgeon picks up a scalpel and cuts into a human body. An attacker picks up a knife and cuts into a human body. Same physical action, same motion, same result in the most narrow physical sense, an incision. But no one confuses these two acts, and the reason no one confuses them is precisely what the Buddha identified 2,500 years ago. The intention is different, the Cetanā is different, and therefore the kamma is different. The act does not define the kamma. The heart behind the act defines the kamma, the full map. The Buddha did not stop at the definition. In the same discourse, AN 6.63, he mapped the entire system. Kamma has a cause, contact, the meeting of sense base, object, and consciousness. Kamma has diversity, It produces different realms of experience. Kamma has result, and here the canon specifies 3 kinds. Result experienced here and now, result experienced later in this life, and result experienced following that. Kamma has cessation. When contact ceases, karma ceases. And karma has a path to cessation, the Noble Eightfold Path. Read that list again. Cause, diversity, result, cessation, path to cessation. It is a complete architecture. The Buddha did not offer kamma as a vague spiritual principle. He offered it as a system mapped from origin to exit. And the exit exists. That is the part most popular versions of karma leave out. There is a way through. The system includes its own cessation, but we are not at the exit yet. We are at the entrance. And the entrance says, kamma is intention. Every moment you intend, generously or cruelly, clearly or blindly, skillfully or clumsily, that is a moment kamma is being made. Not in some past life, not in some cosmic ledger, here, now, in the quality of mind you bring to this breath and the next. If that were all the Buddha taught about kamma, it would already be a radical departure from the popular version. But he went further. Because intention does not simply arise and vanish, intention does something. It shapes what you become. And what you become, that is layer 2. Chapter 3. You are being continued heir, not convict. The Buddha asked his monks to reflect on 5 things every day, not once, every day. The 5th reflection, the one that sits at the bottom of the list, like a foundation stone, goes like this, again in Ṭhānissaro Bhikkhu's translation, A. N. 5.57. I am the owner of my actions, heir to my actions, born of my actions, related through my actions, and have my actions as my arbitrator. Whatever I do, for good or for evil, to that will I fall heir, owner, heir, born of, related through, arbitrator. 5 words, 5 angles on the same relationship. And notice what is absent from every one of them. Punishment. There is no judge in this formula, no courtroom, no sentence handed down from outside. The word the Pali uses is kammadayada, heir to actions, not kammadanda, punished by actions. Heir. The way you inherit a house, the way you inherit a temperament, the way you inherit the consequences of how you lived last year. Not because someone imposed them, but because you lived them and they became yours. In a longer discourse, MN 135, the Kulakamma Vibhanga, the shorter analysis of action, the Buddha lays out the same principle with even more precision. Beings are kammasaka, owners of their actions. They are kammadayada, heirs to their actions. They are kammayon, born from their actions. They are kammabandhu, related through their actions. They are kammapatisarana. And here the translators diverge. Ṭhānissaro says, have their actions as their arbitrator. Bodhi says, have their actions as their refuge. Either way, the point is the same. Action is not something that happens to you from outside. Action is the medium you live in. You swim in your own intentions the way a fish swims in water, and the water shapes the fish. This is the title of this video. You are not being punished. You are being continued. What you intended yesterday, you inherited today. What you intend today, you will inherit tomorrow. Not because a cosmic system is watching, because that is what intention does. It continues. It becomes the thing you live inside. Complexity, not accounting. Now. And this is where the Buddha's teaching gets genuinely uncomfortable for anyone who wants a clean moral physics. The relationship between intention and result is not simple. It is not proportional. It is not mechanical. and the Buddha said so explicitly. In MN 136, the Mahakamma Vibhanga, the greater analysis of action, the Buddha addresses a problem that must have troubled his monks the same way it troubles us. Good people sometimes suffer. Cruel people sometimes prosper. If karma is real, why does the world look like this? The Buddha's answer is not reassuring in the way we might want it to be. He does not say, it all balances out in the end. He does not say, wait, justice is coming. He says, the picture is more complex than any single observation can capture. A person who acts well may experience suffering from earlier kamma not yet ripened. A person who acts badly may experience comfort from earlier kamma not yet exhausted. And the state of mind at the moment of death, in the canonical framework, further complicates the trajectory. The key line, paraphrased from the sutta, because the Tathagata's knowledge with regard to the greater analysis of action is otherwise. Meaning, you see one lifetime, one moment, one slice. The full picture is larger than your observation window, and the Buddha is explicitly telling his monks, do not generalize from what you see. Do not conclude that suffering proves guilt. Do not conclude that comfort proves virtue. The system is real, but it is not a ledger. It does not do accounting. This is the canonical refutation of what goes around comes around. Not because the Buddha denied connection between action and result. He affirmed it more rigorously than anyone, but because he refused to let that connection be flattened into a slogan. Karma is complex. Karma is conditional. Karma is not a vending machine where you insert good deeds and receive good outcomes. Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling a version the canon does not support. The tension. No self, but continuity. And here a question arises that has followed Buddhist philosophy for 25 centuries. If there is no fixed self, if anatta is true, if the five aggregates are not self, then who inherits? Who is the heir? If I am not a permanent entity, who carries the karma forward? The Buddha was asked this directly in a discourse recorded as S. N. 12.17. A wanderer named Ātilakāsapa puts the question plainly. Does the one who acts experience the result? The Buddha says, don't say that. Kassapa tries again. Then does someone other than the one who acts experience the result? And the Buddha says, don't say that either. Neither the same person nor a different person. The answer runs through the middle, through dependent origination. What continues is not a soul. What continues is not nothing. What continues is a process, a becoming. The Pali word is bhava, a conditioned stream of arising and ceasing that carries the imprint of what came before without requiring a fixed entity to carry it. The Buddha offered a simile elsewhere, in MN 72, that is as close as language gets. A fire is burning. It lights another fire. Is the second fire the same fire as the first? No. Is it a different fire entirely? No. It was lit by the first. It carries the heat, the character, the fuel conditions of the first. Not the same fire, not a different fire. A continuation, no fixed self, but a burning that continues. And the quality of the burning depends on the quality of the fuel you feed it. That fuel is Cetanā. Intention. What you intend shapes the fire that continues as you. The honest moment. One more thing needs to be said here, and I want to say it directly, because this is a channel that does not pretend. The suttas, MN 135, AN 5.57, the discourses we have been reading, consistently locate kamma's full sweep across lives. The heir to actions formula in its plain canonical reading means, what you do in this life shapes what arises in the next. The Buddha taught rebirth. He taught that kamma operates across multiple lifetimes. That is the canonical position, and we cannot honestly edit it out. But here is what is also true. Everything we have discussed, intention as kamma, inheritance as mechanism, the fire that continues, all of it is observable within a single life, within a single year, within a single week, if you are paying attention. You do not need to hold a position on rebirth to begin watching how your intentions shape what you become heir to. You can see it happen in a difficult conversation. You can see it happen in the hour after you lose your temper. You can see it happen in the slow accumulation of how you treat people over a decade and what kind of person greets you in the mirror at the end of it. Whatever you believe about what comes after, this much is observable. What you intend, you become heir to. Begin there. The Buddha taught more than this, and we cannot honestly pretend he didn't. But we can honestly begin where we stand. And where we stand, right now, in the present moment, is where the third and most liberating layer lives. Chapter 4. The only place freedom exists. Present as the only location. There is a discourse the Buddha considered so important that he gave it a special name. He called it the pubbekatahetu, the ideal person for one night. One night, not one lifetime, not one retreat. One night of waking up. In N 131, the Buddha says, you shouldn't chase after the past or place expectations on the future. What is past is left behind. The future is as yet unreached. Whatever quality is present, you clearly see right there, right there. Read that through the lens of everything we have discussed. If kamma is intention, and if intention shapes what you become heir to, then look at where intention lives. It does not live in the past. The past is already intended. Those kammas are already made. You are already heir to them. There is nothing to do about them except receive the inheritance, wisely or poorly. It does not live in the future. The future is not yet intended. Those kammas do not exist yet. You cannot intend tomorrow's intention today. You can plan, you can worry, you can rehearse. But the actual moment of Cetanā, the moment that constitutes kamma, has not arrived. Intention lives here, now, this breath. This is the only location where kamma is being made, which means this is the only location where kamma can be changed. The past is closed. The future is not yet open. The present is the narrow doorway through which every act of freedom must pass. This is not a motivational slogan. It is the structural logic of the Buddha's kamma teaching. If kamma is intention, and intention only exists in the present moment, then freedom only exists in the present moment, not as a reward for enough accumulated merit, not as a destination at the end of a long road of repayment, as a feature of how the system works. Freedom is not the prize at the end of kamma. Freedom is built into kamma's own architecture, because kamma is always and only happening now. The Ganges principle, and now the simile that for me is the most liberating image in the entire Pali Canon. In AN 3.99, the Lonavala Sutta, the Salt Crystal Discourse, the Buddha says, suppose you drop a crystal of salt into a small cup of water. You drink. It is unbearably salty. Every sip tastes of that salt. Now suppose you drop the same crystal, same size, same salt, into the river Ganges. You drink. You taste nothing. The salt is there. It has not disappeared. But the river is so vast that the crystal cannot define it. Then, the Buddha says, there is the case where a trifling evil act done by one person takes that person to hell. And there is the case where the very same sort of trifling act done by another person is experienced in the here and now and barely appears for a moment. What is the difference? The difference is not the act. The act is the same. The salt is the same. The difference is what the person has cultivated. The person who has developed body, developed virtue, developed mind, developed discernment, that person is the Ganges. The same past action dissolves into a vast present cultivation and barely registers. The person who has not cultivated, that person is the cup. The same past action overwhelms everything. Do you see what this means? It means tit-for-tat karma, the version where every bad action returns an exactly proportional bad result, is not just oversimplified. It is structurally impossible. If it were true, liberation could never happen. Every being has done incalculable actions across incalculable time. If each one returned a precisely measured result, the debt would never end. The cup would always be salty. No one would ever be free. The Buddha rejected tit-for-tat karma, and in its place, he offered this. What you have done matters, but what you are cultivating right now determines how what you have done is felt. The past is the salt, the present is the river, and you are not a cup. You can become a river. Not by erasing the past, the salt does not disappear, but by cultivating a mind so vast, so developed, that the salt no longer defines the water. That is the Ganges principle. Present cultivation does not cancel past kamma, it dwarfs it. The path ends kamma. And now the deepest layer, the one I have been saving. In N57, the Kukkuravatika Sutta, the Buddha describes 4 kinds of kamma. The first 3 are intuitive: dark kamma with dark result, bright kamma with bright result, dark and bright kamma with mixed result. You would expect those. Every moral system has some version of those 3, but the Buddha adds a 4th. And the 4th is the one that breaks the entire system open. Neither dark nor bright kamma that leads to the cessation of kamma. Read it again. There is a kind of kamma, a kind of intending, that ends kamma itself, not by accumulating enough good kamma to outweigh the bad, not by burning off past kamma through endurance, by practicing in a way that unties the binding altogether. The path, the Noble Eightfold Path, is itself a kamma. It is itself an act of intention, but it is the intention that ends intention's grip, the kamma that ends kamma, the fire that, in burning, learns to let go of fuel. This is not escape from the system. This is the system's own highest possibility, built into the architecture of kamma, right there in AN 6.63, where the Buddha mapped cause, diversity, result, cessation, and path to cessation, is the exit. The exit is not outside kamma. The exit is a kind of kamma, the most skillful kind. This reading, kamma as a skill the practitioner develops, rather than a cosmic ledger the universe maintains, comes most clearly from the American Theravada monk, Ṭhānissaro Bhikkhu. He assembles it from the canonical sources we have been reading: A. N. 6.63, M. N57, A. N 3.99, M. N 101, and frames it as the Buddha's distinctive contribution. Kamma is not something that happens to you. Kamma is something you do. And because it is something you do, you can learn to do it well. Bhikkhu Bodhi, the leading scholar of the Pali Canon, accepts the same canonical sources, but emphasizes the doctrinal architecture more than the skill development frame. Both are working from the same texts. The difference is emphasis, not disagreement. But whatever frame you prefer, the implication is the same. Each moment of intention is not a piece of evidence in a cosmic case against you. Each moment of intention is an opportunity to practice to practice more skillfully than the last moment, to practice with more clarity, more generosity, more awareness than the moment before. And if you practice long enough and clearly enough, the canon says, kamma ends kamma. The heir discovers there was nothing to inherit but freedom. But we are not there yet. We are here. And here is the whole point. Close. You did something years ago you still wish you hadn't. What does kamma, the Buddha's kamma, not the bumper sticker, say about that? It says, you are heir to it, not punished for it, heir to it. The way you are heir to every decision you have ever made. Not because a judge ruled, but because you lived it and it became part of what continued as you. The fire lit another fire. The quality of that burning is yours, but it also says, and this is where the teaching earns its strange liberation, that what you did then is already done, that kamma is already made. You are already living inside its inheritance, for better or worse. There is nothing more to do about it, not because it doesn't matter, it does, but because the past is a closed door. You cannot re-intend what you have already intended. That moment of Cetanā is finished. What is not finished is this moment, right now. The intention you bring to this breath, this conversation, this choice you are about to make when this video ends. That is kamma being made, and to that too, you will fall heir. The question kamma really asks is not, what did you do? The question kamma really asks is, what are you intending right now? 3 ways to begin, not philosophy, practice. First, the 5th daily reflection from AN 5.57. Every morning, before anything else, say to yourself, silently or out loud if you are alone, whatever I do, for good or for evil, to that will I fall heir. Not as guilt, not as dread, as orientation, the way you check a compass before walking. You are reminding yourself where kamma lives, in what you are about to do, not in what was done to you. Second, before you speak in a difficult conversation, pause, 1 breath, and in that breath, notice the intention, not the words you are about to say, the intention behind the words. Is it to be understood? Is it to wound? Is it to protect yourself? You may say the same words either way, but the Cetanā will be different, and the kamma will be different, and what you inherit from that moment will be different. Third, the next time something difficult happens, someone cuts you off, a plan falls apart, a loss arrives, ask 1 question before you respond, not, why is this happening to me? That question points backward, into a closed door. Ask instead, what am I about to become heir to? That question points forward, into the only door that is open. The truth about karma is stranger and more liberating than the version most of us inherited. It is not a punishment system. It is not a cosmic justice machine. It is not the universe keeping score. It is not a debt that must be repaid before you are free. It is the observation, as precise as any the Pali Canon makes, that what you intend, you become heir to. And because intention happens now, the possibility of a different inheritance begins now. Not when enough past karma has burned off. Not when you have accumulated enough good karma points. Not when the universe decides you have suffered enough. Now, this breath, this choice. The past is the salt, but you are not a cup. And when you intend with enough skill and enough clarity, the canon says, kamma ends kamma. The binding unties itself. The fire that burned so long, fed by craving and confusion and blind momentum, discovers a way of burning that needs no more fuel. The heir discovers there was nothing to inherit but freedom.